Oh, hello, hello. It's Rebecca. How are you doing today? In today's video, I want to talk about feeling unmotivated in the weight loss journey. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, aside from nutrition, because, nutrition is first and foremost in everything. But what good does it do you to know a lot about nutrition and a lot about a lot of things if you feel unmotivated to implement the necessary changes to achieve the healthy body that you want, if you are feeling like you just can't go further, etc. So let's talk about what it feels like to be stuck in your weight loss journey, what it's looking like, and what we can actually do about it. So we're going to go through a couple of different scenarios here because let's just be real. Sometimes the weight loss journey can feel like walking uphill with bricks in your backpack. You try 1 day, 2 days, 2 weeks, and then you seemingly fall off of the wagon. You stumble, you get discouraged, maybe you pick yourself back up, or maybe you just sit there and then you're thinking, I just can't do this. This is really hard. Well, if you've ever felt that way, and you might be feeling that way now, you're not alone. You're not alone. I felt this many, many times on my way to losing more than 125 pounds. So if you were to say, I feel stuck in my weight loss journey, what does that mean to you? Or if you said, I want to lose weight, but I feel so unmotivated. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the things that I have heard that I should be doing. I've been told I should be doing. I've been reading I should be doing. Those podcasts told me I should be doing. Okay, maybe a lot of resistance is coming up for you right now. But what does it feel like in your body? What does it feel like? What is the energy around that chatter feel like when you say, I'm stuck, want to lose weight, but sort of feels like a lot of resistance comes up. Am I right? So, the other day I was talking to my mom, and I love the conversations with my mom. I always have. We've always connected about weight loss and recently a lot about health because that's our focus. And, I told her, I said, in all of the conversations that we ever had about weight loss, we never judged each other for where the other person was in the journey. And I sort of feel like sometimes at the crux of it all, that's really what a lot of times it's about is we're judging ourselves for where we are. Maybe we sat down on the weight loss journey after we got discouraged and we're pitching the fit, and that's totally okay. But then we felt like we were just beating ourselves up of, oh, I can't believe I failed again, or I can't believe I can't get it right, or why is this taking so long? I don't know about you, but those were all of the questions that I was asking for many, many, many years. But my mom and we were always able to find ways to encourage each other. Neither of us had it all figured out. We tried a myriad of programs, diets, workout plans. Sometimes we made progress, and sometimes we simply did not. Sometimes we backslid. That's not a word still. It was when I was growing up. Sometimes we backslid. But here's the common thread for both of us. And I told my mom, I said, you know what's interesting about us is that in all of the conversations that we had, we just kept putting one foot in front of the other. Just taking the small steps. We never stopped moving. Every time we felt like we took a step backwards or we did that backsliding thing, we just kept putting one foot in front of the other. Maybe it was another book, another encouraging podcast, or even a fun and balanced conversation with each other about the struggle. And we never talked about it in terms of a struggle, actually. We mostly talked about what we wanted, but we never talked about the actual struggle necessarily. I think we didn't do that because since we didn't have a lot of it figured out, we weren't really sure how to help each other and where to go. But one thing that we did know was we just had to keep moving. We knew that intuitively, and we knew that taking those small steps was going to be the way to eventually get to where we wanted to go. And at the very least, it kept us from staying in the same place. So here's what I want to say. When things get hard, and it's so easy to focus on what's not working, the things that you feel like you're not doing, the habits that you feel like you haven't been able to implement, you might be saying to yourself, I can't stick to this. Or I need to find a new diet plan. Or I failed too many times. It's probably never going to work. Maybe this isn't just possible for me. I can't sit here and tell you that I didn't have all of those thoughts. Many times I had a lot of those thoughts. And I will tell you that even after I had lost the first 103 pounds, I believe it was, I wanted to lose, because I have lipedema and I wanted to control that, and I wanted to lose another 25 to 30 pounds. And I continued to try to convince myself, just focus on what you've accomplished, focus on what you've achieved, not on what you haven't achieved. That was number one. The other thing was, I was trying to convince myself that the extra 25 pounds really didn't matter. But secretly in the back of my mind, it really did matter. And it wasn't just that it mattered, it's what it represented to my future health. Maybe I would end up with insulin resistance, or maybe I would end up with some other chronic health condition. And I'm not saying that using a chronic health condition is the best way to scare someone into action, because clearly that does not work, at least not for the long term. And I never used those strategies or tactics with myself. But now that I am, oh gosh, how old am I now? 54. Now that I am 54, there are things that I definitely think about. Like, I really want to, avoid insulin resistance as much as possible. And so as I could see like signs of that playing out, thinking to myself, okay, there has to be different ways to motivate myself, or different ways that I can find if motivation isn't a thing. What other ways can I find that will say, I can keep going one step at a time? Because after all, I had this other really long journey of losing 100 pounds. And yes, admittedly, those last 10 to 15 pounds can take a lot longer, because now we're talking about metabolism comes into play, satiety signaling, and a whole host of other things. You bring perimenopause and menopause into it, it's a whole different ballgame when it comes to this leg of the weight loss journey. But let's bring it all back around for a second. And let's think about some practical things that we can do for ourselves that will encourage us to keep putting that one foot just in front of the other. Because in the back of our mind, we're thinking about, well, I don't want to fail again. Because sometimes it does feel like our ego just can't take that. What really matters is not doing it perfectly. It's continuing to show up over and over again, continuing to put one foot in front of the other again and again, not staying still. It's reading one more inspiring article, lifting one more dumbbell, choosing one more meal that nourishes you. We know that change isn't accomplished in a single leap, but it's 1,000 small steps that are stacked on top of each other. So if you're in that place where it feels heavy right now, why don't we think about it in this way? The tiniest of steps, because we're starting small, count. The small wins. We so often forget about the small wins. And sometimes I think we even try to minimize the wins. I really don't know why we do that. We minimize, well, I only lost 40 pounds, but my starting number was 60. For heaven's sake, count the 60 pounds that you lost. Start at the highest number. You might have been higher than the highest number that you were aware of, but you might have been too afraid to get on the scale. Takes one to know one. I've been there. A small win might be you're drinking water today instead of soda. Keep experimenting. Everything that you consider a failure, it sounds so trite, but it really is feedback. It's data. We love data, don't we? Don't we love data? I love data. And no, not just that when it's running in our favor, because data is information. You're learning what works and what doesn't work with every piece of data. And every try that you deem a failure is just data. And I want you to focus on persistence, not perfection. Because in the end, progress is built in the moments that you refuse to give up, even when it feels messy. So if you've been feeling stuck in your weight loss journey, here is your rebel reminder. This journey is continuous and you are constantly evolving. You are in the constant becoming. So just keep moving one step at a time, one habit at a time, one win at a time, because again, it's the smallest steps that add up to these biggest transformations. For me, having lost 125 pounds, it was 1 pound at a time. That's how I had to look at it. 1 pound at a time, 10-pound increments, breaking it down. Because boy, if I had to think about it as like, I really needed overall to lose 125 pounds, 127 pounds. That just sounded like a really daunting goal. But when you break it down and you think about how small you can make it and how you can just keep one foot in front of the other, just keeping it moving, keep loving yourself, regardless of the data that you get back, regardless of the feedback, and check your mind too. Check your thoughts. They're not always relevant to the things that are going on. We think that they are, but we have a lot of things that we're thinking below the surface that translate into habits. So if you can't get your mind around them, start thinking about, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you need to start thinking about what you're thinking about. Sounds so profound, but it is so true. So if this hits home for you, I invite you to like, share, drop a comment, and tell me what is your one step, your one tiny step for today. And if you would like more tools to stay consistent when the motivation starts to wane, don't just stay in the silence of your mind. Talk about it with someone. Journal about it. And just keeping the faith and keep moving those one step at a time. Always know that you don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to take the next step that makes sense right now. All right, I hope you found this inspiring. I hope you also have an amazing day. Be encouraged in your journey. Have a good one. Ciao.